Thank you very much for joining us today, Waseem. Really glad to have you here, and thank you very much, everyone, for joining us on today's session. We'll be covering navigating the challenge of cybersecurity. We've got Waseem from Lightrock here. Thank you very much, as I said, for joining us.
Thank you.
How are you finding the show so far?
Very, very good. The amount of words of security and penetration testing and everything across the board is shows how much importance with the amount of companies out here.
No, absolutely. And I think I do love the fact that everything is AI, but when you're going to have a look, I'm not sure what AI they've got in there, but we'll cover that off a little bit later.
Absolutely.
Anything caught your eye that was really impressed you, or something new that you haven't seen?
I mean, there's a few things that kind of, for us being in the financial realm, compliance, boring subjects, cybersecurity, compliance, finance, I know is horrible thoughts, but yeah, some of those are kind of key things I'm kind of looking out for, and it's interesting to see more and more of these kind of crossing between that realm of compliance and security.
No, perfect. Well, for the people who's maybe not known yourself or haven't met you before, it would be great if you can give a quick introduction and tell us maybe a bit more about Lightrock.
Absolutely. So, hi everyone, Waseem here. I've been in technology for 20 plus years when I had hair, many moons ago. So, I've worked from as a IT technician to a system admin to network architecture to where I am now as head of IT at Lightrock. Lightrock is basically an investment company in the impact and sustainability. We're a global brand operating in Europe, Africa, Asia, Latin America, and we basically in the private and public sector of investments, but in the sustainability and impact. So, hopefully investing with companies in growth where it can actually do some good in this world, but still, there's a lot to be had.
Yes, and it's quite a challenge. And sounds quite interesting, sounds quite different, and the investments in your industry, before we concentrate on Lightrock, what type of threats or challenges are you seeing for your industry at the moment?
I mean, a lot. I think when people think of finance, they're like money.
Yeah.
So if there's money, let's try and see if someone out there is going to try and get it, right? So, I mean, it's various thoughts behind it, whether if you think from a bank to private investment to public investment or whatever it may be, the challenge of trying to protect people globally on your team and all the facets of how that could happen from someone trying to, steal a password or take a device to, whatever it may be. It's, a lot of challenges. As I said, maybe that's where my hair went with overthinking it.
Well, what would be interesting, so obviously you've got these wider challenges. What have you seen at Lightrock? What's some of the challenges and risks that you are seeing more closer to home beyond just the industry?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not only from our portfolio companies and investing with companies and thinking about how to secure them, but also not only that we're such a global brand that we have teams that when I joined, I was employee number 6 in the UK. We're now about 80 and now globally about 180. And just thinking of how making sure they're secure, how they operate. And there's that fine line of kind of wanting to make sure you're secure, making sure you want to be productive for the team, give them the relevant tools that they want to use in the industry, whether it's, everything about AI now and everyone wants to use it one way or another. But, just trying to protect not only your infrastructure and your network, but also protect them on the road and where they are at home and every thought about it. It's, quite challenging, but quite exciting. Hence why there's a lot of vendors out here offering products to do it.
And they all promise you, buy this one and we'll save the world.
Exactly.
I've seen that. What's quite interesting, just mentioning some of the portfolios, do you provide some sort of minimum guidance to this organization from that you invest in around security these days? Or how is that working?
For me, I kind of like to give them more of an advisory. I'm trying to build communities with our investment team because at the end of the day, they have IT professionals within them.
Yes.
So for me, I feel like wonderful, talking to people around who are in the industry because everyone has a different thought, different approach and how they do things. So for me, building communities with our portfolio company or whoever, vendors and partners, and sharing ideas that could help and see different angles. Because for me, I could be quite close to my network or my security and my users that you don't really see what could be else out there. So sharing ideas and communities and building is where I'm trying to push with my portfolio companies and help where we can. And if someone's done a test on one service or one product, how did that work? Did you do a POC? Was it good for you? And just sharing knowledge at the end of the day.
And I can't agree more, to be honest. I mean, let's be honest, security is a team sport. We is all in it together, and we should all be working together. Yes, we're all competitors in a lot of the organizations, but you've got to share that intelligence, because
Absolutely.
unfortunately the criminals don't care.
No.
And we got to just work together and work as a team and share that. And now I've just seen yesterday the Microsoft announcement that they are working closer with CrowdStrike and everything else. At least they're going to be naming the threat actors the same instead of giving them different names. So even that is starting to become positive, and all of the large vendors are thinking about how do we align the names. So it's a team sport, and you're right. But coming back a bit closer to home, and from a point of view, I'm aware that you have made the decision to adopt a Microsoft first approach. What will be quite interesting is to get your take of why did you choose a Microsoft first approach? How have you came to that decision, and tell us a little bit more, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, the equation was a kind of a no-brainer. So when I first joined Lightrock, we were spinning out from another organization, our parent company, should I say, at that point. And as I said, we're a global entity, and when about 95% of all the people were on Windows laptops.
Yeah.
For me, it was like, whether if they were on Chromebooks, then we may have been having a different conversation about Google. But since the ecosystem was Microsoft and the endpoints, to me, it was a no-brainer. So like for me, that we're a financial organization, to have a product such as Microsoft that offered an MDM, that offered, multi-factor authentication, email, and encompassed it into one tool where at that point it was just myself. So it helped me manage it and install it and implement it globally with such a scale. And hence why we kind of went with that cloud first approach, which to me was offered it really well. And that's why Microsoft became to me an easy answer in that initial process.
I'm going to be a little bit controversial, and as you mentioned age and experience, and I'm not going to mention age, I'm going to have to say, if we roll back about 10 years ago, maybe 11, Microsoft was seen as a joke in security. I don't know if they're right next door, so never mind. Hopefully they heard that. But from your point of view, did you find it challenging to convince people to go around Microsoft, that Microsoft is now a massive security vendor? How have you overcome that challenge or that perception amongst your peers, possibly?
Yeah, it's actually a good question, because a lot of the team, especially the partners, when I was telling them where I'm looking to build and how I want to build the infrastructure for Lightrock, they were like, Google Workplace, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, yes, those are all very, easy, on the web. But I said, at the end of the day, your email client's going to be Outlook. Yes. You're going to use Office. Yes. You're on a Windows computer. Yes. I'm like, to me, if you want to secure it globally, have it maintained, work with it. And yes, not to say that Microsoft was perfect at the start, but it's an evolution, right? So, and I think with any technology vendor, you kind of think about how that evolution will be there. And I'm not showing my age, or maybe I colored the gray into my beard, but I remember NT4 spinning out Novell to NT4 at that point, and then going from dumb terminals and muxes to fat clients, and now to almost back to dumb terminals in the sense of a browser. I think Microsoft offered that evolution to me in the sense of, okay, was it perfect? No, but it gave me that balance to know that would it fit 100% of it? No, but it gave me that 60%. And then aligned with other partners and vendors that worked well with Microsoft.
Yeah.
And then they gave me my initial tech stack that helped me get Lightrock off the ground.
Oh, fantastic. And I like that. Microsoft first, as I always say, not Microsoft only, because there's always certain areas what we got to look at. Now, to keep on the controversial side a little bit longer before we go, although I am a Microsoft fanboy, I will admit that, as somebody said to me yesterday. I think what would be quite interesting is, how did you overcome the challenge when we talk about the licensing costs? And because we've seen that before, where initially people will go, ooh, how much is that license? It sounds expensive, when they first just see the number without necessarily understand what you have. How did you overcome that challenge inside the organization?
It's another very good. It's finance and money always comes to the
Totally.
baseline of any conversation around a company and how do you invest your. As I said, it came to that mindset of when I spoke to my CEO and the partners and saying, look, this is the vision I had, is because we were Windows, Office, and we wanted to implement email and all the other device management. To me, giving them the sale of saying, look, well, we have one license that can encompass a few of these is an easier sell than saying, okay, well, we need one product here, pay this amount, one product here, pay this amount, one product here, pay this amount, and making sure they all fit together could be even more challenging. So for me as an instant, and you say you're a Microsoft, I remember working on DOS and 95 and 98 and 3.1. So Microsoft has been an evolution in my DNA as well, but not only Microsoft, but I think, once you look at it, basically who your user base is, and then work backwards from there and say, okay, so if all your user base is Macs, okay, so let's look at a different way. If all your user bases are Chromebooks, look at a different way. But for me, that mindset of, okay, it's Windows, it's Microsoft, we want email, we want security, we want mobile device management, we want to push applications. This one cost can encompass it all versus multiple costs that at the end of the day could climb higher because one vendor could change a cost that you don't like and then have to re-evolve it from there.
Yeah, no, absolutely fantastic answer. One final one, and then we'll move into a more positive territory. I like throwing this because I like to get people's second opinions.
Shake it up a little bit. I'm ready for it.
Sounds like you've put all your eggs in one basket. How do you respond to that? How do you putting everything with one vendor? Because we always see that risk regarding, well, we like the layered approach. We like multiple vendors, which was used to be the argument. Let's be honest, we've all been there. But how did you deal with the fact that actually we are very reliant now on Microsoft? We're putting a lot of our eggs, as we said, with Microsoft. How did you overcome some of those challenges inside the business?
No, it's absolutely. I mean, I've also come from a realm of on-premise buildings, server rooms that sit in the corner with laser dogs protecting it and robots not wanting anywhere. And then you build another one in another area and replicate data and all the rest of it. But with cloud and Microsoft and any other vendor, you have multi-vendor approaches. Yes. So for me, working with a person or a tool that has the ability to do a synchronization, very real-time, asynchronous to another tool, which then can give me that multi-vendor approach of, okay, my data may be sitting here, but it's also replicated elsewhere. And if this goes down, how can I implement that seamlessly and quickly? I mean, it's one of the multiple questions, and the tools are out there. It's just finding that right connection that works for you. And Microsoft, as you know, is a big player in this world, and there are a lot of vendors that work with them. Yeah. So trying to find another vendor that can integrate into it was actually quite easier than I thought it would be.
Fantastic. Now, and I think we're seeing that all the time, is those challenges. And let's be honest, there's probably 3 or 4 global players out there. And if any one of them is having a bad day, we're all having a bad day.
Absolutely.
Because it's not just us, it is probably one of our suppliers. We just have to roll back last year to the biggest outage caused by another security provider.
No comment.
Yeah, we won't be mentioning the name very loudly, but I'm sure everybody knows.
Absolutely.
And I think it can happen. It does happen. And it's how do you recover? What's the service level agreements? How quickly they can help you get back up and running? And that's a bit that we have seen, because let's be honest, technology is still ones and zeros and physical hardware. Things do go wrong. There's still humans in there.
I mean, if technology worked all the time, we'd be all out of a job.
So there you go.
So I think, I always tell my peers, if it does always work, then like you wouldn't need all the other vendors, and you wouldn't need to replicate any of your data anyway.
Well, the robots are coming for us, as they say, so who knows? Maybe we will be obsolete.
Virtual presence next time a conversation happens.
Exactly. Now, you mentioned the Microsoft first. What I would be quite interesting to understand is some of the, when you adopted the Microsoft, what were some of the benefits that you've seen? What some of the technologies inside the Microsoft stack that you use that really springs to mind or make your life a lot easier?
Absolutely. So for me, as I mentioned, email, at the end of the day, email is key to any organization, and Exchange is such a big player in throughout the years of email communication. And just having that ability to know that, okay, so my users are going to be using Outlook, they're going to want to send emails. Okay, so how do I protect that? How do I give it to them seamlessly on their devices? How do I want to make sure that they're able to access it 24/7 nowadays?
Yeah.
And that security element. So for me, okay, so Exchange is going to be the key. So let's walk around it. So if Exchange, then we want to protect it. So Microsoft Intune, which is the device management. Okay, so that kind of ties into it. So I can then deliver that and put the security elements and making sure multi-factor authentication, encryption with BitLocker, all the other things that tie with it gave me that good presence.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, not everything, as you stated before, was with Microsoft started well, like Defender. When Defender came out and I looked at it at the initial point, I was like, maybe not the right thing for me. Maybe go with a different antivirus prevent, which worked, right? Because it's Windows still as the base and you can work with it, and it does tie in with Azure and everything. So to me, single sign-on worked. So that was an evolution. And then eventually now I've gone to Defender, which is the evolution of any product or any tool, right? And it's having that ability to use other tools but still connect it to your identity provider is key.
Absolutely, and it's quite interesting. You touched on Defender. I always joke when I see anything that says preview, I translate to does not work yet.
Yeah, exactly.
From the point of view, but we've even now seen, you mentioned Defender, where it came from with the Micro Ingenuity attack, the last results, top right, 100% on Mac, 100% on Linux. If you said to me 2 years ago, Defender is going to score 100% on Mac and Linux, I would have laughed at you. Go,
exactly.
No, I don't believe it. They'll be Windows focused. But now that it's that vendor agnostic security that we're seeing and independently verified. So, no, absolutely. And I think we maybe everybody's not aware, but $20 billion on security in 5 years and another 20 billion being spent. It's hard to get your head around of how much money is being spent in security by Microsoft. As I said to somebody the other day, Microsoft is now the biggest security provider in the world that nobody knows that they're a security provider.
Absolutely.
Which is interesting. Now, we touched on some of the products, and I know that for some of the people around here is maybe considering the Microsoft journey or nervous about it, or maybe have just started it. What piece of advice would you give them regarding if they're thinking about starting it or on that journey, or what you've learned by being on that journey?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's never going to be an easy journey. There's going to be ups and downs. I think the best and easiest way is what makes your life easier, right? And if you're, as I said, if your user base or your networking environment is a Microsoft centric, whether it be on the operating system or on some of the tools that use it, whether it be the email, Teams for one, as the communication base, and wherever it is, security is an element. As I said, we look around right now, every board has security on it one way or another. So it is the key to it. So if you're thinking, okay, you know what, my team wants to use Outlook, my team wants to use Exchange, my team wants to use Teams, then you know what, then think about that. Is if that's the case, then how do I build around it and how do I make that work? And I think it's a no-brainer at that point. If that is the case and that's your use case, then Microsoft is, to me, it's, as you said, you're never going to have the budget that Microsoft has to invest in security. So if you can utilize their knowledge, their testing, their infrastructure, then it's whoever it may be.
Yeah.
But if, as I said, it comes down to analyzing what your use case is and your user base.
Fantastic. Now, you kindly, and I'm going to admit that you used to work with Softwerx. What I would like to understand is how did you choose Softwerx, and why did you choose Softwerx to be your security partner on this journey?
Absolutely. So when I first joined on board, as I said, Lightrock, and best way to think of it was a startup, even though we came from a different company. So I was like, okay, so as I mentioned, Outlook, email, and finding a vendor that worked on, obviously, in the Microsoft world, but not only in the Microsoft world. And when I came and spoke to the team at Softwerx at that initial point, there was obviously Microsoft was the key conversation, but then you guys also had other tools that helped kind of build that tech stack and seamlessly, because at the end of the day, it was just me, myself, and I as the whole team, and trying to scale up and build a infrastructure, a tech where I can manage it, support it, implement it globally throughout that, gave me such a confidence with you guys, because as I said, it was never a hard sell. It was never of, okay, you wanted to go Microsoft, this is how you do it. And using your knowledge was key as well to help me facilitate it, but your other knowledge of other products. And not necessarily if I wanted to go with another product, your advice was also very crucial to me on your experience and going, okay, we will also help you and give you advice on how to build that, your Lightrock's infrastructure.
So it's a trusted advisor, that person that tells you the way it is, none of the fluffy sales part of it, as I like to call it.
Absolutely. Like for me, I don't look at you guys I almost think of you as one of the team. Because for me, that is that relationship, right? I can always call on you guys to say, okay, look, I'm thinking about doing X, Y, and Z. You may be having vendor partners with the same things, but I'm all looking at other ones. But just spitting ideas, thinking about it, having your ideas, your expertise is a massive benefit. We've had our relationship now for 7 years, and it's longer than most marriages, as I think about it. But or anything like that. But I think it just shows the relationship we have together.
Yeah.
And it's would I say all my tech stack is through Softwerx? No, but you've helped me and facilitate me to think on where and what would work best for me, and obviously Microsoft being at that core spine of it all.
Absolutely, and I think that's the bit, is what works, what's right for the customer, and that's what's important, because at the end of the day, a lot of what we share a similar tech stack, let's be honest, because we're part of a group. And as somebody said, we drink our own champagne. I'm not allowed to say we eat our own dog food, but I'll cut that out afterwards. Before I get into trouble. I'll get out of trouble afterwards on that one. But I think as well, what we're going to do, that is fantastic, but we can't not finish today with at least touching on the subject artificial intelligence, AI, Copilot. I know that you had quite an interesting story where you've evaluated Copilot, looked at AI, and has decided to adopt some sort of AI in an organization. What will be useful for the audience is just to explain a little bit what the journey you've been on AI and where you've decided to move forward on the artificial intelligence side for your users.
Absolutely. I mean, we mentioned security, but AI is also plastered across everywhere and everything you see. To me, it was, okay, Copilot was almost a no-brainer to trial, because we are Microsoft, as I said, that spine. Yes, it gave some benefits, but it wasn't the fix for us right now. And I mean, we talked about Defender in that journey. I honestly do believe Copilot in another few years could be leaps and bounds to where it is right now. So, we tested it, we evaluated it with our users. Was it true benefit to us? Some elements. But because what we wanted to do, and because we're a financial organization, we wanted to kind of plug in our other tools to help facilitate not just doing it for email and Teams, but also incorporate other parts of our tech stack. So we went with another vendor, but also ties into our Microsoft stack at the end of the day, as for security, single sign-on, multi-factor authentication. And, that's our journey right now, but who to say that things won't change? And I think that's the beautiful part of technology and where we are right now. I think, where the way things have evolved and changed and continuously changing, not to say in another year, 12 months, 6 months, Copilot would be something else. Another tool might be different or wherever. So I think you have, the best way to look at it, it's another tool. It's another part to your organization. It's just thinking about it, what makes sense for you. And if it makes sense for you, then evaluate it and go forward.
No, that's fantastic. And I guess you've been on this journey, and you said every year it changes. What's next for Waseem? What's next on your journey? And I want to ask you what keeps you up at night. We'll leave that one for later, off with a strong coffee. But what is next for you? What are your next challenges that you're looking to?
So for me specifically on the Lightrock side, as I said, we're a financial company, is sadly another boring topic of compliance, and it goes hand in hand with security. Like, as I said, we operate globally in Africa, Latin America, Asia. We're opening more offices around Europe. Obviously, you've got the whole GDPR, DORA, SEBI in India, and everything else that ties into it, right? It's, for me, is yes, okay, we secure our infrastructure, we secure our endpoints, we secure our teams with, cybersecurity awareness training and all this. How to seamlessly automate all that and
Yes.
make it compliant, as well as AI, and making AI compliant. And because we get audited all the time when we do fundraising, we get audited by the fundraising part from all our auditors, all our investors, everyone
Yeah.
that looks at it and goes, okay, well, tell me about how do you protect our data, how protect your data. And to me, that is always an evolution and always will be the case. And I think key part to it is automation. I mean, anyone, if you can try and take away the hurt and the pain of you trying to do something and make it better and easier for you to focus on other things, I think is the key.
No, fantastic. And I think you touch on the regulation, the new ISOs that we talked about for AI, but also the fact that more than 50% of all AI projects was abandoned last year, which is a stat I just read, because of data and security concerns, where people don't really know how we're going to do it. They want to embrace the technology. And I think, unfortunately, data is the next frontier. We're all getting good or better at securing what I call the plumbing, the endpoints, the device access. But what's actually important is the data, the information we hold. And that's the next frontier. And the criminals don't really care. As long as they got that entry and they got that information, they can take action and hopefully exploit and get some commercial gain, because that's what it's all about.
100%. And it's changing the mindset, because back when you wanted to say hack anything, you needed to have some integral knowledge of, coding, firewall, how to breach certain things, where now you could download a tool, input some small bit of data and let it go do it itself. And with AI now as well, it's even easier to kind of like circumvent, or have multiple people do things without having a deep knowledge of coding or anything else.
Well, I'm not a coder, and you touch a good point. I won't mention the product, no, the AI version, but I paid the $20 to turn off the security, and it wrote me a crypto virus in a minute, which was fantastic. So I do have my pension plan planned.
I need to watch out for you, right? So
exactly. I just worried.
Disconnect your connection.
That's my job. That's my security, my long-term pension plan.
Fantastic.
No, but on a serious note, it is that concern. How do we police that? How do we ensure it? It's these what we call, because let's be honest, AI has no conscience. It is just safety tools that's put in place. So we got to be on our guard all the time. And I think for us as organizations, it's the next frontier. It will constantly change, and we just need to make sure we keep adapting as organizations and individuals.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like any tool, AI, email, phone calls, text messages, whatever it may be, security is the element of it. And we know how easy things are hackable nowadays, and data leaks and all the rest of it. And you do said, when data is more vulnerable than gold, more valuable than gold and all the rest of it, it's key, that reason why you want to protect it as much as you can.
We're almost out of time, but one final question, which somebody asked me yesterday, and I completely blindside you here, is the challenges of security being 24/7. How does that affect you on a personal basis from a mental health point of view? And I'll share my thought was, we don't actually ever switch off. You always got that risk of somebody calling you at midnight, 1 a.m. about the rest. How are you dealing with that? How are you coping with that on a personal basis? And what advice can you give to young people that might be joining the industry where it's a 24/7 game? What's your thoughts?
I mean, it is. You don't want to be up 24/7, 7 days a week, thinking about how security and where the next attack is happening. And as I said, we were a very agile team. It was me. Now I'm a team of 3. So, even still a team of 3 trying to protect the whole ecosystem and think of every potential issue it's troublesome. But I think when you build a relationship and a partnership with not mentioning any names or any vendors around, but when you have that partnership and that expertise around, and they offer you the ability to take that leverage away from you with a 24-hour SOC or wherever it is, I think, yes, the cost is there, but then you think about the time and the effort that you will have to spend if you get breached, or if there's emails that come in at 4:00 in the morning and you don't read it until 8 in the morning. That 4 hours, you could lose so much, and you could spend then another 24 days trying to recover. So having that eyes and expertise around it, and partnering with someone that can help you sleep at night is key. And to me, that's a no-brainer at the end.
No, absolutely. And I think that's it. You mentioned 4 hours. I think the stat is an hour and 12 minutes before data has left the building from
Exactly.
the moment they compromise you. So no, and we are seeing more what do we call the smash and grab. They know that they're going to get detected. They take as much as they can in the 15 minutes typically, and then they're out of there because they realize no longer yes, you've got the opportunistic crypto viruses, but actually most of the time they're going to detect us. Let's grab what we can and get out as quickly as we can with some key information we can hold you to ransom to. So,
and not only that, I feel that is 100%, but then there's also, with all the tools you have, you get almost like a log fatigue.
yes.
And you're getting fatigue of getting notifications, and a lot of it could be false positives, right? And then you're like, okay, now I have to investigate every single tool and every single thing. To have someone to be able to leverage that is also very key, to take that where probably 90% is false positives, and you want to concentrate on that 10%, and having a team that is actually able to tell you, you know what, this thing you need to look at is also very valuable.
No, absolutely. I'm being signaled that we're out of time. I've been enjoying this chat so much. As I say, I think we can continue the conversation for a few more hours, but we won't keep everybody here. If there's any questions or you want to have a chat, Waseem will be here.
I'll be here.
We'll do that in place. But thank you very much.
No problem at all.
Really
Thank you very
enjoyed
much.
you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much,
guys.
for
Much
joining
appreciated.
us.
Thank you.
Thank you.